Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, a look at the U.S. Supreme Court's so-called shadow docket and how it's being used to fast-track court decisions. Also tonight, a new exhibit gives an alternative view of history through the eyes of artists. And we'll meet the new artistic director of the Arizona-based Convergence Ballet Company. Those stories and more next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your public television station.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. A recent report in the New York Times unearthed memos and other information that help explain the origins of the High Court's shadow docket, a now routine process involving the court making major decisions on a fast track with no apparent deliberation and no reasoning given for the rulings. To learn more about all this, we welcome attorney Stephen Montoya of Montoya, Lucero and Pastor. Good to see you again. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right. The Supreme Court's shadow docket. I hadn't even heard of the term until relatively recently. Has this always been a thing, or is it a new thing?
It is a very new thing. It's approximately a decade old. Some people will tell you, oh, the court has always had an emergency docket. In fact, every court has an emergency docket. That's true. The court has always had an emergency docket, but it's never operated the way that it's operating now. The Supreme Court is the court of last resort. It has the final word, not the first word. In the federal courts, the federal district court has the first word in every case. And then it percolates up through the Court of Appeals to the Supreme Court, maybe. But what is new about the so-called shadow docket is that the court is actually taking cases away from the district courts, taking cases away from the Court of Appeals before they're adjudicated in the first instance, and entering injunctions that in some ways determine the outcome of the case before any other court considers it. Now, the emergency docket never operated that way, and it primarily operated only in reference to death penalty cases. Hey, you know, we have this person's going to be executed at midnight. Please intervene immediately and enjoin the execution.
Well, and again, I think the operative word here is emergency. I mean, back in the past, as you mentioned, if it's a case like that, that's an emergency. It sounds like everything that's coming down the pike is an emergency all of a sudden.
It is an emergency depending upon your ideology. If you for example, the recent New York Times article was dealing with interpretation of the Clean Water Act that I thought was extremely far-fetched and that I disagreed with and that I did not think was a good faith interpretation of the Clean Water Act. But here's what the Supreme Court did. Instead of letting the lower court, which in this case was the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, consider the issue in the first instance, it actually swept up the case and enjoined it. And in fact, the way things, 2 years later, when it finally reached the Supreme Court again, it was a moot case.
Yeah.
So
and again,
it was ridiculous.
But no real debate, apparently, according to the New York Times, no real debate, no in-person meetings, basically just a few texts and emails going back and forth. And that was it. That's all we knew of the reasoning here.
There were the Times actually printed, I think, 8 memos that were very cursory.
Yes.
And they might have been written by law clerks. You know, really, this is really scaring me. I clerk for a federal judge too, and there's an alarming and infamous practice in the federal courts, with all due respect to my beloved federal courts, that these law clerks, these kids right out of law school, are making a lot of decisions and doing a lot of the writing. That's also true at the United States Supreme Court. We know because former law clerks tell us it is.
Yeah. The memos that the New York Times published, they got a hold of, and we'll talk about that, the efficacy of that. But the fact that they got a hold of these things, the memo showed that Chief Justice John Roberts, he's pretty much the big kahuna here, isn't he?
Well, he was for 2 reasons. First of all, he's the Chief Justice.
Yes.
Second of all, as Chief Justice, he is the justice that considers temporary appeals or emergency appeals from the D.C. Circuit Court where he used to sit. So it naturally came to him in the first instance. not because he was Chief Justice, but because of his relationship to the D.C. Circuit. But the tone of his memo, as you're suggesting, was adamant.
Yeah, it sounds like he devised this, he championed this, he figured out this was the best way to do things, and he's been shepherding it along all the way.
He did, and it worked. He killed the law, and really that was based on an Obama executive order, which he vehemently agreed, and I actually coincidentally agreed with him on his conclusion, but the process that he used to reach that conclusion at that early juncture in the case, I thought was reprehensible.
And the New York Times suggests that that particular case was a turning point with the shadow docket. Because
it absolutely
we
was.
got like, what, 20 cases now with the Trump administration?
Oh no,
Something
more than
even
that.
more than that?
Yeah, it's been more like 30, and they have an 80% win rate. This term, the court has decided as many cases on the shadow docket as it has its traditional merits docket.
What is that doing to the court's credibility?
It's destroying it. It is an open wound that is bleeding the court dry. Now the justices are publicly debating themselves, which is unheard of in the history of the Supreme Court, even among lower court federal judges. It's really embarrassing. This morning I was watching a lecture that Justice Jackson gave at Yale Law School, and it was about the shadow docket.
Yeah.
It's an open wound. The justices are openly feuding about it. It's very divisive, but it's also destroying the rationale for having a Supreme Court, a court that has to explain itself in writing with every one of its decisions. We spoke once, there was an immigration decision that the court just basically reversed the lower court in Los Angeles. And Justice Kavanaugh did give a concurring opinion saying, hey, race can be among several factors that would justify an investigative stop. That had no opinion. Many of the cases have no opinions, and ask any lawyer, Ted, if you win at the threshold, you're much more likely to win at the end. Another really horrible thing about the shadow docket is only the elite of society can play that game. In order to file an emergency appeal before the Supreme Court of the United States, you need a lot of money. Poor people cannot do that. Small and medium-sized litigants cannot do that. It's primarily the government that is able to do that, which has unlimited money, and large corporations.
So is the shadow docket, does this become the legacy of the Roberts Court? I mean, he likes the idea of comedy. He likes the idea that everyone gets along and we're all deliberative and X, Y, and Z. What does this do to that?
Well, it shows that idea is a myth and shatters it, and it might very well become his legacy.
Yeah, so you think so?
I do think so, and it's a bad legacy, which, I have a lot of respect for him professionally, and I would hope more for him than that.
The question of these memos being leaked, and the New York Times got a hold of them and they published them. The fact that they were even leaked, is that a good thing overall?
That's a tough question, but I'll answer yes. It's better than the alternative. If the Supreme Court is not going to play by its own rules and explain every one of its vital decisions, then it deserves to be exposed. Because as one of our greatest justices said, sunlight is the best medicine.
But with the Supreme Court, secrecy has always been a factor and has always been, I would think, you don't know everything. There's a bit of a mystery until the reasoning comes out. Obviously, if there's no reasoning coming out, the mystery, there's nothing to solve here. But again, having these things leaked, you still think it's a good thing?
Well, I do in reference to the shadow docket. Yeah, if the court is going to operate in the shadows, as Brandeis also said, the street light is the best remedy for crime. We need to shine a light into the shadow, including the shadow docket.
Stephen Montoya, Lucero, and Pastor, always a pleasure, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Things are getting odder and odder.
What?
Not Oddser, Odder, as in Odd Squad on PBS Kids.
Something very odd has happened.
I have a case of the sillies.
You have the sillies? Oh. All right. Whoa.
Weekday mornings at 6:30 on Arizona PBS.
Hi, I'm Catherine Anaya, host of Horizonte, the groundbreaking program that has served as a platform for Arizona's Latino community for more than 2 decades.
Latinos care about issues across the board, just like everyone else.
There's a lot of diversity in thought and opinion. We just need to make sure parents understand the value in having multilingual students.
We like to hear our voices heard. Stream episodes online at azpbs.org, YouTube, or on the PBS app.
Longtime local art gallery owner Lisa Sete has a new exhibit titled Art is History, which takes an alternative look at the past by way of art that, quote, upends the self-serving histories repeated by corporate interests, political victors, and wealthy institutions. Joining us now is Lisa Sete. Good to see you.
Hi, Ted. Nice to see you.
It's been a while.
Thanks for having me back.
Oh, yeah, it's good to have you. Okay, Art is History. The theme here is what? Erasing history, or how history is erased by others? What's going on here?
I think, we plan our exhibits about a year and a half in advance, sometimes longer. And I felt that what I was seeing in our world, specifically in the U.S., was a lot of erasure of history, a lot of censorship of history, that I was uncomfortable with. Maybe the Smithsonian, the Kennedy Center. I mean, we could go on and on, the Venice Biennale recently. And so I started to think about how do I learn? And I learned through art, and that artists hopefully these days are not censored as much as they were in the past. But it became evident to me that I just needed to put together a show of works from probably the 18th, 19th, early 20th century, and have contemporary artists from the 21st century respond to those images.
So that's what's going on with some of these images?
Yes.
Okay, can we get to some of the images?
Sure.
Let's do it. Let's start with one of them. It's called Anatomy After, it's a digital print, I think. Anatomy After Francesco Bertinati. Okay.
Yes.
What's that one all about?
Okay, so Bertinati, I think that was from maybe the mid-1800s, and he was a doctor, and he was studying anatomy. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So we found a piece by Vic Muniz, who is a contemporary Brazilian artist, who decided that he was going to reenact the Bertinati. So Vic's working out of right outside of Rio de Janeiro, and it's all comprised of junk, and the junk is taken from the favela in Rio. He worked with, I think, young artists from the favela to collect the junk, and if you took that image and you put it on the floor, that's sort of the best way to understand it. So all the junk is laid out on the floor, and Vic's camera is several stories above. So he's, taking the photograph from maybe 2 or 3 stories above, and he's recreated this image from the mid-1800s.
Wow! And
I thought it was interesting just because we take anatomy for granted these days, but at that time period, we were learning.
Yes, it sounds like the subject there is learning too. Our next one is a cameo graphic of a Julia Margaret Cameron. First of all, I think we know what a cameo is. What's a cameo graphic?
I think a cameo graphic is the title that she gave to the whole series.
Okay.
It is made of glass and silver, and if you think about photography and cameras, it incorporates glass and silver. So we debuted this in New York, I think, maybe in 2018, I think at the Park Avenue Armory, and it was a show about photography, and we got a little bit of flack because we weren't showing photographs. But I thought, well, why don't we flip it and
Yes.
concentrate on the photographers instead of what the photographers make? So it's a whole series of images made of glass cameos of famous photographers, from the very first photograph made until, to contemporary times.
Very good, very good. All right, another one is called Two Origins of the World. And I want to know what's the message with this one?
Okay, so this is Gustave Courbet, and the original is Gustave Courbet from 1866, and the contemporary piece is Enrique Chagoya. So Courbet was censored in his time in 1866 for this image. And I'll have to say that it was also censored, I think, on Facebook in contemporary times, too.
Wow.
But the origin of the world is how we were created. So if you see, it's the midsection of a woman. And this is an indigenous person with a blank easel who is maybe going to rewrite this history, because not all art history comes from European history, that there can be indigenous history as well. So it's a blank canvas for him to create something, completely new, but as accurate, just a totally different perspective.
I got one more for you.
Okay.
This is from Diane Arbus.
Okay.
Very famous,
Yes.
obviously. It's called Arbus Twins.
Yes. Oops.
Oh, that's
Wrong
not
one.
Arbus Twins, is it? That's The Pleasure of Becoming. Let's do that one anyway. Well, no, there's the
Here we go.
Arbus
Okay.
Twins. Let's go.
So
Go ahead.
this is the original image is by Diane Arbus, probably from the 1960s or so, and then the contemporary artist is Sandro Miller, a photographer. And do you see anything a little off with that, Ted?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the hands, they're dark, sort of
Yes.
hairy, spotted hands.
Yes.
And the artist worked with John Malkovich, the actor John Malkovich. So that is actually John Malkovich, both of those images.
Boy, the one on the right looks like him. The one on the left, I don't know. I'm not sure.
They did an amazing job with just recreating these, these famous photographs. Kind of fabulous.
Well, and again, we're talking about art, and we're talking about photographs, we're talking about a message. Do the messages get through? I mean, how do you know the messages are getting through?
You don't know. All you can do is educate.
Yeah.
But if we don't know our history, I don't know how we move forward.
And last question, for those who see the exhibit at your gallery, which you've had that gallery for so long, congratulations.
41 years, thank you.
41 years.
Yeah, thanks.
What message do you want them to leave with?
Just to understand how important history is, and that people can learn through visual art. I mean, if you gave me a history book about any of these subjects, and there were no images, there were no pictures, I wouldn't have retained it. But if you give me an image, it's my way of sort of my jumping off point to learn about it in depth.
Art is history. Lisa Sette,
Yeah.
Lisa Sette Gallery. Good to see you again.
Thank you, you too. Thanks for having me.
You bet.
Okay.
The Phoenix-based Convergence Ballet presents its spring performance this week. The program is titled The Space Before, and it features the company's new artistic director, Ian Parsons, in what's described as an evening of metamorphosis. We welcome Ian Parsons to Arizona Horizon. Good to have you here.
Thank you very much for having me.
Hey, Convergence Ballet, is that a new company? Is it an old company? What's...
Convergence Ballet has actually been around since 2010. It originally started as a summer company for dancers in the area because in the United States, a lot of ballet dancers, when the summer rolls around, they go on summer layoff before the season restarts in the fall. And often they're looking for things to do, etc. And that's how it started. Our founder, Jennifer Caffarella-Betts, started it up in 2010 with that in mind, and it's kind of morphed over the years.
So why did you decide to take the job as artistic director?
Well, I was really inspired by the visit that I had. I applied for this job to run Convergence Ballet Company and also our school, Ballet Theater of Phoenix. I want to say almost 2 years ago now. That's how much the immigration thing has been going along for. But I was really inspired when I visited here by not only the students at the school, but also by just the dedication and artistry of the dancers. And I really enjoyed the smaller scale because we're only about 10, 12 dancers.
You mentioned smaller scale. You were with Canada's National Ballet School, correct?
Yes, I was. For 10 years.
10 years.
I was a faculty member at the school there.
And you're no longer with them now? You're full-time here?
I am full-time here. I am actually, as of a few weeks ago, I'm a U.S. permanent resident.
Ah, good for you. Well, welcome. All right. The feature debut is called The Space Before.
Yes.
What's going on here?
The space before something new happens, before we take a step off the cliff onto a new precipice, because with any artistic endeavor, especially in a ballet company, when a new leader takes over, there is, sometimes a change in aesthetic, sometimes a change in direction, but also honoring what came before. So I guess you could say we are before something new, but also acknowledging what came before.
Thus, an evening of metamorphosis?
Exactly.
And how do you show that as far as a ballet is concerned?
Well, we're showing 5 new works, 4 of which are actually my choreographies, and one is by Peggy Baker, who is basically a luminary in contemporary dance in Canada, and she was artist in residence at the ballet school when I was a student.
Oh, wow.
So she taught me everything I know about contemporary dance. I danced in the work of hers that we're doing 20 years ago.
So, and again, it's described as going through all through kinds of emotional landscapes in this metamorphosis.
We have a huge variety in the program. We go from sort of pastoral and melancholic to crazy Baroque music, which is rearrangements of Beatles songs and sort of somebody's fever dream, and it really runs the gamut. It's a really exciting show.
But it's also considered a joyful celebration of dance.
Oh, yes,
But some of that emotion can't be all joyful.
No. Actually, we had one of our final run-throughs earlier this afternoon, and there was one piece called The Field Before It Spoke, and at the very end of the piece, I actually had to tell the dancers, you can smile in the curtain call, because they were just so touched by the emotion behind it and the relationships they created with each other in that work.
I've also read that this is considered Convergence Ballet at a turning point itself.
Yes.
What does that mean?
It basically means that I'm here now. I'm really excited to work with the company and excited to meet the Phoenix art audiences. And I have some ideas of things that I would like to do with the company and things I would like us to perform, things I would like to create. So it really is a new chapter, so to speak.
Dates and I want to get some more stuff here, but dates and times for the performance.
Sunday, April 26th at 6 p.m. at the Dorrance Theater, which is downtown on Washington Street, which is Ballet Arizona's.
Okay, Ballet Arizona spot down there in
Yes.
Washington. Okay. All right. I want to ask you some things about it. We got a couple of minutes here.
Yeah.
How are themes presented in ballet?
Do you know, we were having a very interesting conversation, myself and our dancers, a couple of days ago, because the thing that I enjoy about dance, and the reason why I think a lot of people are drawn to dance as the universal language, is that it is not so easy to tell somebody exactly what is happening or exactly how to feel. It's very much because we don't have the power of spoken language, it's very much open to interpretation by an audience watching it. So sometimes, even when I'm creating, I don't necessarily go in with any idea except a piece of music and maybe a few images that I want to create on the stage. And that image evokes something in me, and I'm hoping it will evoke something in the audience. And it might not necessarily be what I was thinking.
With that in mind, what advice do you have for those who are going to a ballet, maybe for the first time, maybe not, and they're sitting there and they know what's happening is really cool, they just don't think they're getting it?
I say there's no correct way to get it. I feel like especially ballet and classical ballet has it's gotten this reputation as being very elitist, and you can only understand it if you are a diehard, and that is absolutely not true. Like when Lisa was talking about the beautiful work in the segment just before at her gallery, you will all carry something very different away. I've even had conversations with my parents after performances that I was in or of my work where they had a completely different idea than what I thought about, and I said, hey, I actually like your idea a lot too.
Yeah, if that's what you believe, that's good enough.
100%.
Ian Parsons, again, Convergence Ballet Artistic Director. Once again, date and time?
Sunday the 26th at 6 p.m. at the Dorrance Theater.
All right, it is the space before. Welcome to Arizona. Good to have you here.
Thank you very much.
And that's it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening. I like to think that at Arizona Horizon we are unique in the way that we present information, public policy, sometimes news, these sorts of things, because we have conversations. And I don't want conversations, that human interaction,